I went through earlier the different types of, some of the different types of products that contained asbestos, and we talked a little bit about how asbestos is a mineral and it's mined out of the ground. For many, many, many years, decades, the talc that was used in products like baby powder and cosmetics, also mined out of the ground. Talc, it's a mineral, it's mined out of the ground. And when it was mined, fragments of asbestos and contamination of the talc occurred. So similar to what we were talking about with the tobacco industry and the traditional asbestos industry, the companies that sold these talc products were very sophisticated. They were testing the products to see if they had asbestos or asbestos-like fibers in them. They figured out that they did in many circumstances. They didn't tell consumers that there was a potential for asbestos exposure when these products were being used. And maybe even more insidious, they actually went to Washington, D.C. and lobbied the government agencies to classify the asbestos that was in their talc as not being asbestos. They actually tried to change the definition of asbestos so they could tell the public there was no asbestos in their product. It is very, very egregious conduct, and the documents that have gotten out through the litigation process are very, very damaging, and the juries that have reviewed these documents have felt that punitive damages, the highest level of damages to punish a company for misconduct, are warranted in many of these cases, and it overwhelmingly affects women, not entirely, because men lived with women who used talc products and helped out with taking care of diapering and activities with children, and some men use talc themselves on different parts of their body, but it overwhelmingly affects women. It's a women's health issue, and it's not just products like baby powder or after shower powders. It's also cosmetics, brand names that I think most people and most women would be familiar with and use. And these are largely body powders, perfumed or fragrance body powders that might be used in place of a traditional baby powder. So we are seeing many, many mesothelioma cases now where the only exposure is to talc. Many of these clients are very young. We have clients now in their 30s and 40s who are getting diagnosed with mesothelioma. And with the latency period, you're talking about people who use this as a teenager or in their 20s, thinking it was safe with no warning, and have young families themselves and are just getting diagnosed with mesothelioma. And it's really upsetting and concerning.